My ex-girlfriend is dating my dad, and wants me to attend the wedding. Get ready to be slightly uncomfortable because this story is wild, and hit that like button if you find this story amusing. I walked into my childhood home for Thanksgiving, expecting turkey, awkward small talk, and maybe a political argument or two. But what I did not expect was to find my ex-girlfriend sitting on my dad's lap, feeding him mashed potatoes like we were at some sick, twisted rom-com dinner from hell. Yeah. Go ahead. Read that again. Let it sink in. Let's rewind. I met Emma, not her real name, but let's call her that, 2 years ago at a concert. We were both waiting for drinks when some drunk guy stumbled between us and spilled half his beer down her dress. She swore like a sailor, I offered her my jacket, and boom, instant connection. We hit it off fast. She was sharp, funny, and had this habit of pulling people into her orbit like gravity. I was obsessed. For a while, things were great. We traveled together, binge-watched terrible reality shows, and had inside jokes that made no sense to anyone but us. But over time, little cracks started forming. She had this way of always making everything about her. If I had a bad day, hers was worse. If I accomplished something, she found a way to top it. It was exhausting, like dating someone who constantly needed to be the star of the show. Still, I held on longer than I should have, probably because I was blind to just how self-centered she was. Then, about 6 months ago, we broke up. Nothing dramatic, no huge betrayal. Just one of those slow, miserable declines where you wake up one day and realize you're more exhausted than in love. We had the talk, wished each other well, and went our separate ways. Or so I thought. A couple of months later, I was catching up with my dad over dinner. My dad, by the way, is divorced. Has been for years. Good guy, a little socially awkward, spends most of his free time golfing and watching History Channel documentaries about wars he already knows everything about. Anyway, we were eating, and he casually mentions that he's been seeing someone. I remember raising an eyebrow. Oh, that's great. Who is she? He hesitated. That should have been my first clue. Well, you might know her. Okay, I said, confused. Who is she? He cleared his throat, took a sip of his drink, and then, as if he was announcing the weather, he said, Emma. I laughed. Like, actual, full-on belly laughed. Because obviously, he was joking. Right. Wait, I said, still grinning. Emma. Like, my Emma. He gave me this awkward half-smile and nodded. Yeah. I felt my soul leave my body. Dad, what the hell do you mean, yeah? I practically yelled. He held up his hands like I was overreacting. Overreacting. Look, son, I know it's a little unconventional. Unconventional? Dad, this isn't unconventional. Unconventional is putting pineapple on pizza. This is straight up deranged. He sighed, like I was being so unreasonable about the fact that he was dating the woman I used to make out with. We just connected, he said. I ran into her at a cafe, we started talking, and I cut him off. You started talking and what? Just decided to casually start dating your own son's ex-girlfriend. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Please, enlighten me. He shifted uncomfortably, like he was trying to find the right words to make this sound normal. Spoiler. There were none. Then, as if this conversation wasn't already an Olympic-level disaster, he says, I was actually hoping you'd come to dinner with us next weekend. I nearly flipped the table. Dinner? I shouted. With you and Emma? Like a little family get-together? What do you expect me to do? Sit there and reminisce about our good times while you two hold hands over the breadbasket? Imagine your own father asking you to third-wheel your ex-girlfriend and just try not to throw up. It's not that big of a deal, he tried. You and Emma ended things on good terms. She's an amazing woman. Oh, hell no. I was done. I grabbed my jacket, stood up, and looked him dead in the eyes. Dad, I said, I need you to listen very carefully. I am never, ever, going to family dinner with my ex-girlfriend turned stepmother in training. Then I walked out. Now, if you think that's where the madness ended, buckle up, because it gets worse. So, you'd think after storming out on my father and his bizarre new romance, they'd get the hint, right? That maybe, just maybe, dating your own son's ex-girlfriend is a line you don't cross? Well, if you thought that, you'd be dead wrong. Because the next morning, I woke up to a text. Dad, I know last night was a lot to process, but I really think you should give this a chance. Let's get dinner. Just the three of us. No pressure. Oh yeah, no pressure. Just a casual dinner with my ex and my father like this is some kind of sitcom plot. I ignored the message. For about 10 minutes. Then my phone buzzed again. Emma, hey smiley face. Can we talk? I feel like we should clear the air. Clear the air. The air isn't just unclear, Emma, the air is radioactive. I didn't respond. Because what was I supposed to say? Hey, sure, let's grab coffee so you can explain how you went from calling me babe to calling my dad daddy. Yeah, you're welcome for that visual. But apparently, ignoring them wasn't enough. Because 2 days later, Dad showed up at my apartment. In person. I opened the door half-dressed, still groggy from sleep. And there he was, standing in my hallway with Emma right next to him. Oh, I was not caffeinated enough for this nonsense. Hey, sport, Dad said, smiling like he wasn't about to ruin my entire day. I didn't respond. Just stared at them, blinking slowly, waiting for my brain to reboot. Emma had the nerve to step forward. I know this is weird, but I really think we should talk. I crossed my arms. You think we should talk? Talk about what, exactly? About how you decided to play romantic musical chairs with my family. Dad sighed like I was the one being difficult. Look, son, I get it. It's unexpected. But relationships are complicated. You and Emma didn't work out, and I cut him off. So what? You thought you'd take her for a spin instead? Like I left my PlayStation at your house and you decided to borrow it. Dad frowned. That's not fair. I laughed. Like, actually laughed in his face. Oh, it's not fair? What part isn't fair? The part where my ex-girlfriend is now my stepmom-to-be? Or the part where my father thinks this is a totally normal Tuesday? Emma sighed. Can we at least come in and talk? I stepped aside. Sure. By all means. Step into my office. They walked in, and I shut the door, resisting the urge to slam it hard enough to break the frame. Emma sat on the couch, smoothing out her dress like this was some kind of job interview. My dad stood next to her, arms crossed, probably expecting me to have some emotional breakthrough where I suddenly accepted their nightmare relationship. Spoiler. That didn't happen. All right, I said, sitting down across from them. Let's hear it. Sell me on why this isn't the most disturbing thing I've ever experienced. Emma sighed. I know how this looks. Oh, do you? Do you really? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my ex is now dating my father. Dad held up a hand. Just, hear us out. We didn't plan this. We just ran into each other one day, started talking, and realized we had a connection. I deadpanned. You realized you had a connection. Over what? The fact that you both used to sleep with me. Dad groaned. Can you not say it like that? How would you like me to say it, Dad? Want me to call it a heartwarming love story? Want me to give a toast at your wedding? To my dad and my ex, who found love in the ruins of my emotional devastation? Emma huffed. Okay, now you're being dramatic. Oh. I stood up so fast the couch nearly tipped over. I'm being dramatic? Emma, I watched you cry in my car over our breakup. You told me you needed time to heal. And then what? A few months later, you're on romantic dinner dates with my father. She at least had the decency to look guilty. Dad put a hand on my shoulder. Son, I don't want this to ruin our relationship. I shrugged him off. Too late. Emma bit her lip. So, does this mean you won't come to family dinner? I need all of you to take a moment and just process the sheer audacity of that question. I closed my eyes, inhaled through my nose, and exhaled slowly. Then, without another word, I walked to the door, opened it, and pointed outside. Out. Dad frowned. Son. Out. Now. They both stood, exchanged a look, and walked toward the door. Emma paused as she stepped past me. I really hope you'll come around. I smiled at her. A wide, teeth-baring smile. The kind that says, I am seconds away from screaming. Then I shut the door in her face. Now, you might think that's the end of this ridiculous story. That they'd take the hint, go live their bizarre life, and leave me the hell alone. But no. Because 2 weeks later, I got a wedding invitation. I stared at the wedding invitation like it was a ransom note. Because in a way, it was. White and gold, fancy cursive writing, all the classic wedding aesthetics. But none of that mattered. The only thing I saw was their names. Emma and Dad. Go ahead. Take a minute. Let it sink in. I wish I could say I handled this with grace. That I took a deep breath, meditated, maybe consulted a therapist before reacting. But no. I did what any reasonable person would do. I laughed. Hysterically. To the point where I actually had to sit down because I thought I might pass out. Then, because the universe is hilarious, my phone rang. Dad. I picked up, still wheezing. Please tell me this is a joke. There was a pause. You got the invitation? Oh, I got it. And I have questions. Many questions. But let's start with the big one. Have you lost your actual mind? Dad sighed, and I could already tell he was about to hit me with some love is love nonsense. Son, I know this is hard for you to accept. Oh, no, 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 I cut in. Hard to accept is when your favorite restaurant changes their menu. This is an existential crisis. He ignored me. Look, I really want you to be there. This is important to me. Important? Dad, you're marrying my ex. Do you understand how insane that sounds? Emma and I love each other. I physically cringed. Can you please not say that sentence to me ever again? I just want my son at my wedding, he said, with this dramatic, emotional movie dad voice. I don't want us to be divided over this. We are so far past divided, I shot back. We are in parallel universes. Please, he said. For me. And damn it, I almost felt guilty. Almost. Because at the end of the day, he's still my dad, and some tiny delusional part of me wanted to believe this wasn't as messed up as it was. But then I remembered who he was marrying. Fine, I said, sighing. I'll think about it. That was a lie. Now, you might assume I just threw the invite away and moved on with my life. But oh no, because the universe was not done torturing me yet. A few days later, I was out getting coffee when I heard a voice behind me. Hey, stranger. I turned. It was Emma. Of course it was. She looked good. Annoyingly good. Hair perfect, smile bright. Like she wasn't the human embodiment of my personal nightmare. Fancy seeing you here, she said, holding her coffee like we were old friends running into each other on a casual Tuesday. Did you get the invite? I took a slow sip of my coffee. Oh, I got it. Thought about framing it, actually, as a reminder of the exact moment my life turned into a soap opera. She laughed like I had just told the funniest joke ever. I wasn't joking. Listen, she said. I know this is weird. Weird. Emma, dropping your phone in the toilet is weird. Dating my father is clinical insanity. She rolled her eyes. Come on, it's not that bad. I stared at her. Emma, if you Google unhinged relationship drama, I'm pretty sure our situation shows up as the first result. She sighed. I really do want you to come. I know we have history, but I'd like us to be on good terms. I took another sip of coffee. Emma, I don't think good terms exist for exes turned stepmoms. She pouted. So that's a no. Oh, it's a hell no. And with that, I walked away. Now, any sane person would just leave it there. Let them get married, live their twisted little happily ever after, and never think about it again. But then, something hit me. An idea. A beautifully chaotic idea. If they were going to make me suffer, I was going to make sure their wedding was unforgettable. I wasn't just going to skip this wedding. No. If they wanted me there, I was going to make sure my presence was felt. You want family drama? Buckle up. The day of the wedding, I walked in wearing a white suit. That's right, white. The same color as the bride. Petty. Absolutely. But trust me, this was just the beginning. The ceremony was being held in this fancy outdoor garden with twinkling lights and a live string quartet. Way too classy for the absolute dumpster fire of a situation unfolding here. Emma stood at the altar in her way too expensive wedding dress, smiling like this was just another normal day in the life of a totally not insane person. My dad stood beside her, adjusting his tie, looking nervous. As he should. I took my seat in the front row, directly across from my mom, who was sipping champagne like it was her only source of oxygen. Oh yeah, did I mention my mom was here? Because she was. And she looked like she was watching the greatest show on earth. The ceremony started. The officiant went into some long-winded speech about love, fate, and the beauty of unexpected connections. Bro, read the room. Then came the vows. Emma went first. From the moment we met, I knew you were special, she said, looking at my father. You make me feel safe, seen, and cherished. You understand me in ways I never thought possible. I can't wait to spend forever with you. I almost gagged. Then it was my dad's turn. He cleared his throat. Emma, you are the love of my life. I never expected to find love again at this stage of my life, but meeting you showed me that love has no boundaries. No limits. Oh, I had to stop this. Before the officiant could move on, I stood up and clapped. Loudly. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Beautiful. Truly inspiring. A love story for the ages. Silence. Everyone turned to look at me. My dad's face went pale. Emma's smile faltered. The officiant cleared his throat. Would you like to say something? Oh, absolutely, I said, stepping forward. I mean, how could I not? This is a monumental occasion. My father is marrying my ex-girlfriend. You don't see that every day. My dad hissed. Sit down. Oh, come on, Dad, I said, grinning. You always told me to speak up when something didn't feel right. Emma looked like she wanted to strangle me. I turned to the guests. I just think it's so beautiful how love finds a way. Like how Emma once told me she needed time to heal after our breakup, and apparently that meant 2 months later in my father's arms. Gasps. Actual gasps. Mom. Living for this. Sipping her champagne like it was the finale of The Bachelor. Emma's maid of honor, who clearly did not approve of this marriage, covered her mouth to hide her laughter. The officiant blinked. Maybe we should. I kept going. And Dad, you always told me to go after what I want. Guess I should have known that included my ex. I mean, hey, finders keepers, right? My dad's jaw tightened. That's enough. Oh no, please, don't let me stop you. Go ahead and say, I do. I just figured I should celebrate the woman who used to call me baby, and now calls you honey. Emma snapped. Okay, that's enough. I tilted my head. Oh, uncomfortable. Emma? Weird being reminded of the past while you're trying to move forward? Huh. Interesting. She looked ready to burst into flames. My dad. Silent. Then, the final blow. I pulled out my phone and played a voice memo. A recording of Emma. Your dad is so awkward, her voice said, loud and clear. Like he's sweet, but if he didn't have money, I probably wouldn't even be entertaining this. That's right. I recorded her. The entire crowd lost it. Dad turned to Emma, eyes wide. What the hell? Emma turned ghost white. I didn't mean that. It was taken out of context. I smirked. Oh sure. Just like you accidentally fell in love with my father. Silence. Glorious silence. Then, my dad walked away from the altar. Just turned and left. The wedding was over. Emma ran after him, begging him to just talk, but he wasn't having it. Meanwhile, Mom, cackling, guests, murmuring like they just witnessed an episode of reality TV. And me. Best day of my life. So, what's the lesson here, folks? Sometimes you just have to let karma do its thing. Or, if you're feeling particularly petty, give karma a little nudge. Well, that is it for this wild story. If you enjoyed it, comment your thoughts on the matter and hit that subscribe button, cause why not? And I will see you in the next.